Hey guys, welcome back to the Golf Podcast. This is episode number 230, and what we're going to do, we've got so much to talk about. We're going to do a quick recap episode. We've got our Ridgewood round to talk about, which was awesome. Mike, you know that's been on my kind of like local course bucket list for years now, so that was great to get out there. And we've got lots of great updates for the Golficity Virtual Open, which still time to get in. If you haven't gotten into that yet, there's still time. We'll talk about all that in a second. Again, you know, this past week, we got to play it. It was a PGA Tour ready Ridgewood Country Club right here in Paramus, New Jersey. And as you guys may know, the Northern Trust is going to be coming to Paramus, to Ridgewood within the next, you know, as of when this drops, within the next couple of days. So, by the way, speaking of the Northern Trust, we're going to be there most of the week, covering the Northern Trust. So if you're planning to be there, make sure you hit us up on any of the social media platforms at Golficity. We'll see if we can find a way to meet up. I love that we've seen a lot of that, Mike, going on in the Facebook group, guys trying to organize local meetups and stuff. And we always like to get a chance to chat with you guys face to face. So if you're going to be there at the Northern Trust, make sure you let us know one way or another. You can even post it in the Facebook group. And if it's a chance that we can link up, we're going to try to do that. This week, speaking of the PGA Tour, Tiger's back in action. We got the WGC Bridgestone, followed by the final major of the year, the PGA Championship.
We got some good golf coming up, man.
Oh, yeah. I always love these couple of weeks. It's like bang, 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 you know, the PGA Championship, and then we start to lead right into the FedEx Cup playoffs, which is always fun because we like to kick it off. The Northern Trust is always somewhere local here, and we like to get involved with that. And then, you know, going back to what's on our own agenda, you know, the week after next, we're going to be back to Sleepy Hollow. We're going to be playing with Kevin Sprecher, who you guys remember from the Titleist fitting. We're going to be doing a little bit of a playing lesson with him. As we were there on the grounds, Mike, we got a quick peek at Sleepy Hollow. It's another one of those courses that we've talked about for a long time about wanting to play. So it's going to be great to get the new sticks out there. We're going to do some updates about that in general, about how we've been playing with the new clubs. So lots to talk about today. But first, let's kick it off, Mike. I know you posted a question in the Facebook group. Tell me about that.
Yeah. So by the way, the Facebook group, Frank, it's closing in on 1,000 members. Last I looked, we were about 950, growing by many, many, many per day. And I love seeing that because this is such an awesome community. Most of you listening to the show are in it already, but if you're not, it's free. Search it on Facebook. Just type in the Golf Podcast, click join, and we'll accept you right in there. But just before we jumped on this recording, I wanted to just throw it out there, you know, because everyone's been so active in the group. I just want to see what's on your mind. You know, what are you guys thinking about at this point of the season? What do you want to know from us? You know, a lot of you guys are asking us questions both in the group and on social media, direct messages, emails, things like that. So, you know, I said fire it off, and, you know, sure enough, we got a bunch coming in, and just a couple of them here. I mean, the first and foremost here, Chris McEwen, who's actually one of our writers, he just said, hey, what's the overall state of your games? Maybe give an update on what's new or changed and the goals that you guys have for the rest of the season. So I'll kind of just kick it off there, Frank. You know, state of the games, obviously I'm still kind of in the transition with the new clubs, but feeling much better about them. A lot of great, and we're going to talk about our round at Ridgewood, but you were right there by my side. You saw the good shots, you saw the bad shots, you know, and vice versa, from me to you. So, you know, things just trying to get the feel down, and I'm excited about where my game is at right now, believe it or not, because I feel like I'm playing better, although the scores aren't really reflecting it. We talk about this a lot. You feel like you're striking the ball well, but the score isn't really reflecting that. And we come back to that a lot. And I don't know what it is, but I just feel like I'm getting off the tee a little bit better. I feel like those wedges that I have now are just really helping me around the greens. I feel like my putting's been great. You saw me yesterday, a lot of great lag putts from long distance on very fast greens with lots of undulations and very crazy pin positions. And you'll see that in the vlog when it drops. But overall, tee to green, I think things are moving in the right direction. I just have a lot of work ahead of me right now, and I think it's going to be, if not this season, maybe going into next season where I'm really going to have my game where I want it to be. I think it's going to take a lot more time than I expected with the new clubs, and I'm okay with that. But that's kind of where I'm at now. What about you?
I'm feeling good and just starting to get to play a little bit more again. You know, we kind of joked about how I wasn't able to get out there for one reason or another, but as you and I were on the range in Ridgewood, I was saying, Mike, you know, it just occurred to me, this is the first time I can remember in a long time that I'm playing 2 rounds within 3 days. So I'm just happy to be playing a little bit more regularly again. And I just feel like it's still that steady progression where my game is just really starting to come back and come together more and more. All areas of my game feel like they're working a little bit better. I've loved having the new Titleist sticks. So far that has been a dramatic improvement. And one big one, as you saw, was I am completely sold on that hybrid. We talked a couple episodes ago. I said, I'm still not quite there yet. It's just a matter of just kind of powering through and playing the club and learning how to hit it. And once I did, now it's gone from like that, you know, we talked about that episode a couple of weeks ago, like your most hated club in your bag and how to get over it. It's gone from that to like old reliable in like the shortest time frame I can imagine. You saw me hit it well. I hit it well out of the rough, you know, so I'm happy with that stick.
You looked confident with it. And I just want to tell this quick story, and you'll definitely see the shot. I mean, we're going to highlight this shot for sure, but it was a par 5 on the back 9. I think it was the 17th hole. It's going to play as the 17th hole for the Northern Trust Open. We dogleg left. We both went right off the tee. A lot of trouble left, so we kind of did the old bailout right. But you were, I don't know, 300 plus left, and I think you punched like a 150, 160, right up the fairway. But you still left yourself over 200 yards to this uphill to the green.
Yeah,
and you know, 210 maybe. I don't even know how long was it.
It was about that. That was the unfortunate reality of that day is we didn't have any accurate yardages. We were relying on the caddy.
And I want to talk about that later, so I'm glad you brought that up. But you got up there confident, and you played this beautiful draw. You struck it perfectly. You landed on the green. You 2-putted for par on a legitimate PGA Tour par 5. I mean, we played 6,700. So, you know, the way you were hitting that hybrid, I love seeing that you have confidence in something different. That's cool.
From the rough, no less. I mean, that was always my struggle before. I hit that 3-iron well, but once it started getting some of that thicker rough, I had a lot of trouble getting it up in the air. I don't find that with this hybrid. I feel like I just hit it smooth and it just takes off. But that's in a nutshell state of the game. I feel like it's progressing nicely. I feel like with the clubs has been that little extra oomph that I needed. I feel like I'm scoring well. One area where I want to continue to improve, it's been my biggest area of focus, has been on putting. I'm going to continue to work on that putting stroke and just making it a little bit more consistent. I feel like I'm gaining a lot of confidence in it. I want to work on it more at home. I'm going to get one of those putt outs and just have something that I can just use as a target at home just to keep working on it. But I'm overall happy with it. I'm happy with just getting out there and playing more as much as possible. We've got some great additional outings lined up, leading into August, and it's just going to start to hit that time where it just becomes crunch time. Play as much as you can before it starts to get cold. I mean, realistically, we've got maybe 3 more good months in us. So I'm going to get as many rounds as I can in, and then we'll try to travel a little bit this winter and keep playing.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm looking forward to that. So we got a couple more here. I'll just pluck out of this question I posed. Lauren Stewart, I think you know the answer to this, but what brand of clubs should I go with when I have the money to upgrade? So, Lauren, I think you expect us to say Titleist, but Frank, you're going to agree. I think you need to get fitted, and you probably know this, Lauren. Depending on, it doesn't matter with the money, just, see what fits your game. I mean, you see, Frank and I did it. We went through it. Yeah. I've been fitted many times, many different things. And actually, the both times I went through kind of a full, or I should call it a real fitting from a real fitter, it ended up being Titleist both times. So the AP3s were for my game from 2 separate fitters, one being a Titleist fitter and Kevin Sprecher, and one being just a normal average fitter down at Golf and Body. So definitely get out there, get fitted, and go with what works for you. I mean, you can agree with that.
I agree 100%. I think no matter what, the fitting is going to be more important than the brand. Mm-hmm. And I think that's where you got to open your eyes a little bit, because sometimes no matter what, we're going to have these little bit of, bias to different brands that we've liked throughout the years. And I think sometimes that stops us from trying other things. But there's one thing that you know is that you can't argue with performance, and you're not going to really know how things are going to perform unless you try them. So try as as much as you can. A fitting, an independent fitter is a great way to do that. And then if you wanted to hone it in, once you feel like you're hitting something well, and then you want to go to a fitter who fits for those specific clubs, by all means do it. But I agree. I think the better money spent is on the fitting than on the brand name. And a lot of the manufacturers are making great clubs right now. So there's a lot of options out there. I'm going to keep saying the fitting is going to be the most important thing there.
Yeah, big time. Lewis, one of the new members of the group, he just wanted to know what are the courses coming up, potential courses that you and I are looking to play the rest of the summer and potentially the rest of the year. We just talked about Sleepy Hollow and potentially a winter trip. Now, Frank, you and I have been talking about getting out to Wisconsin. I mean, that's something we want to maybe make like a 3 to 4 day trip out, check out Whistling Straits. Bandon Dunes, I believe, is out there as well, correct? I think it is. I thought Bandon was out on the West Coast. You might be right. No, I'm sorry. I'm not Bandon. I don't know why I'm blanking on it, but because you're thinking Bandon Dunes. What do you call it? That's out in Oregon. Remember when we talked to when we had Bradley Putters on the show. We said we were going to get out there and play with them. Yeah. I'm confusing it actually with Sand Valley. We actually just feature them on the website, and one of our writers did a couple of reviews about Sand Valley, and those courses look amazing. They do. So we could spend some time out there. Probably not in the winter, unfortunately. We'd have to go more south for that. But that's definitely something on our mind. We were thinking about getting down to Pinehurst. Perhaps we're going to try to work Pinehurst in, and what you're thinking of is Mammoth Dunes in Sand Valley, because just a gorgeous course. Yeah, there you go. Casey Kirchberg did an unbelievable write-up of Mammoth just recently, and the pictures were just jaw-dropping. Like, as soon as he dropped that, I emailed him and I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, I'm just like overloaded with jealousy of playing that place. And so there's a lot that we want to get out and play in that area. And even locally, as we talked about, you said Sleepy Hollow and some of the other ones that we want to play. You were joking with me the other day about how Ballyowen just doesn't want me to finish there. 2 times I didn't get to finish my round there. Mm-hmm. But so there's a lot of great courses on the horizon. And then when we get back to Orlando in January again for the PGA show, we're going to try to play 1 or 2 of the tracks down that way. Stream Song on my list down there. Yeah. Yeah, so that's on there for sure. And you know what? I'll just wrap this up real quick with a quick. This is not a question, but Chris R says how great the Facebook group is, and it's getting close to 1,000 members, just like I mentioned. Honestly, in my opinion, one of the best groups I belong to. Let's get this group up. Let's crank it up and get those numbers up. So I couldn't agree with you more, Chris. We love the community. Thank you so much for all your posts. You're pretty active in the group, so we couldn't thank you enough. So that's all I got, Frank. Yeah, it's so true too. As I said, it's one of those situations because you know how it is, especially with online. You can get some of these groups and these people in there heckling each other and whatever. I've never seen such a supportive group as this, and everybody's just like really cool about sharing what they're doing, where they're playing, things like that. And I love seeing that. So keep it coming in the Facebook group for sure. Speaking of courses to play too, one other thing I wanted to mention, kind of a funny story. My wife's cousin is getting married next May. And when you hear that it's going to, like, first thing we heard was that it's going to be a destination wedding. So as a golfer, like, what happens, right? You just start thinking, like, fingers crossed, be like somewhere where there's a course I want to play, right? And he doesn't golf much. He's dabbled in a little bit, but he did a brief stint as a Getty photographer, covering some of the PGA Tour events. So he knows the game. He's been around the game. So we're like, where is it going to be? Where is he going to have this wedding? And then drum roll, man. I just lit up when I found out it's Kiawah. Yes, sir. So Kiawah Island, and this is another one that I've always wanted to play, the ocean course. My father's played it. He said it is about as hard as they get. But I don't care. I'll take a really difficult test anytime and just know it. You just gotta kind of recalibrate. I did this when I played Bethpage Black and some of the other places. If you think you're gonna play one of the really challenging tracks and just shoot your usual score, you're setting yourself up for disaster. I talk about it a lot here. My average score is usually in the mid 80s, right? I went into Bethpage Black and said, if I break 100, that is my, I'm happy. That's my goal today. And I did. Mm-hmm. I think I broke it by 1 or 2 strokes and shot like a 99 or 98. And I'm happy. It's that much of a difference. And we talked about that.
months ago when we did an entire episode on understanding like the course, slope rating and things like that, and understanding you need to adjust for that because not everything's going to play the same. And I want to talk about that more when we dive into Ridgewood, because Ridgewood being a prime example of that was one hard track.
Yeah, it absolutely was. And my question to you, at Kiowa, do you break out the expensive AVXs and Pro V1s, or do you just play what's in the bag knowing that you're surrounded by tons of water? And I mean, you got to play with them, right?
You got to. And as you become more and more attached to a ball, and we talked about this before, like
it's true.
When you start to take it seriously, your game starts to go like in a bad direction when you start playing with, the ball that you're not used to. And I look, to me, if you're going to lay down $300 or something like that for a, kind of a once or twice in a lifetime type of tee time, I think
a dozen balls?
An extra dozen balls is kind of a drop in the bucket when it comes to that. So yeah, no, I very hard to pry me away from the AVX right now. Even when we played Ridgewood, when the rough was so dramatic, even with the caddy walking ahead to keep an eye on the ball, even with that, we were having trouble finding
we still
golf
lost
balls
them in the rough.
And I'm talking about a yard off the fairway. That rough was so deep, you'd have to step on it. We're looking at it, against the grain of the grass in both directions. And even with that, I still kept with the AVX because it plays too well for me. And I didn't want to, even with the chance of losing one to nothing, so to speak, I'm like, I gotta keep playing them.
Right. And there is that sense of confidence when you're dressing a ball that's not the ball that you are used to playing. If you pull a max fly out of your bag, nothing against the max fly, but you're used to playing Pro V1s and you don't have any that day, I got to think it's going to screw around with your mental game a little bit. Even if it's a fraction, it will.
Yeah, no doubt, because I think a lot of people forget that the ball is an integral piece of equipment. Like, we don't always think of it as a piece of equipment, and it is. It's you get used to it. You get used to a certain feel, a certain performance, a certain spin, and then all of a sudden, if you switch that out, and then you wonder why you're having trouble, controlling shots or shaping shots or whatever. I used to be the guy who would just play anything that I pulled out of my bag, and it was pretty much whatever I found in the woods or wherever. I had just a mixed bag of things. But then I realized, like, every time I'm pulling out a different ball, it's gonna play differently. I've gone a different direction since then. It's tough to play that way now. Totally.
And I'll end it on this note. Don't just play a ball that's cheap because you feel that you stink at golf. I mean, play a ball that's maybe a little more expensive, but it's fitted to you and it's better, and that's going to improve your game. I mean, a lot of people say, I'm not going to play Pro Vs. I'm like a 22 handicap. Well, how about maybe improving your handicap by playing with Pro Vs? Think of it like that. It's worth a shot. I made the switch, and you know what? It's helped. It's really helped. I've noticed it dramatically on short 30, 40-yard chip shots from tight lies off the fairway with the wedges, seeing the ball stop on a dime and spin back and all that stuff. Really good control. And I know you preach the same about the AVX.
And the reason I preach it too is because I largely say that with scoring with this game, what I've learned throughout the years is that it really happens from the 100 yards and in. So I don't really, I don't put too much value on a ball that's considered like a distance ball. I'm looking for a performance feel type of ball, which we usually find you get out of some of the more premium golf balls. But if you can give me that and I can have that feel around the green, that's where it all happens, so to speak.
Totally.
So, all right. So we want to talk about Ridgewood. We want to talk about the Virtual Open update. We want to highlight some of the things that are going on there. Before we jump into that, this episode is sponsored by Peter Millar. And here's why I love Peter Millar clothing so much. They offer comfortable fitting, super high quality threads that are just setting the standard in menswear. Founded back in 2001, Peter Millar has clothes for all occasions. Mike, one of my favorites, I've talked about this before, the performance shorts. They're super comfortable, and I'm always trying to find excuses to wear them. I even called you the other day, I'm like, Mike, can we have to wear pants at this track, or can I wear my shorts?
Right.
Because I just love them. They're super comfortable. They're moisture wicking. They're breathable, quick drying. Plus they have like this stretch waistband, so they move with you. It's not too much stretch. It's not too little. It's just right. That makes them perfect for playing a round of golf or taking care of chores around the house. And they're easy to take care of. You can just throw them in your washer and dryer.
Yeah, and when you see the Ridgewood vlog that we're going to put out, you're going to notice that ultra sleek Peter Millar moisture wicking polo, that black one that I was wearing. And let me tell you something, man, does that material breathe. I mean, it was a muggy kind of day, and I just felt good out there. I wasn't sweating. I've been a victim of people actually feeling the material of my Peter Millar clothing around the office and things like that, because that's how unique these threads are. So listen, stop what you're doing right now, unless you're driving, of course. I don't want you to do that. And head over to petermillar.com/golf. Check out some of our favorites from Peter Millar. Be sure to use our link and you'll receive complimentary shipping and even a free hat. How cool is that? So that's Peter Millar, MILLAR.com/golf, petermillar.com/golf.
All right. So Mike, let's quickly recap Ridgewood and just kind of set the stage for this a little bit. Ridgewood being hyper local to us. I used to live about 10 minutes from there. I've since moved a little bit further away, but I used to live right there. You're still very close. I remember you said, call me when you get there. I'm 3 minutes away. I can just pop over.
Right.
But we used to, and you had one opportunity to play Ridgewood previous. I hadn't had an opportunity to play it, but butting right up against it is Paramus Golf Course, which is a public track. Great fun track in its own right.
It is fun.
But,
Paramus.
It butts up against Ridgewood Country Club in a couple spots. And you just kind of like when we play it, you look over the fence and you just see this like unbelievably manicured fairways. And it just looks like the whole thing is, sometimes it looks fake, it just looks like someone laid out this green carpet for as far as you could see. And I always said, I always want to play there. And you've heard me talk about this.
I want to hop that fence.
I'm like, do you have any ins? Like, who can we play with? I got to get out there. And then we're just kind of, I'm at the office one day, and I think everybody's had something similar like this happen to you. Something when you just get an email that makes you stop in your tracks. And we got an email about 2 weeks ago from the PGA Tour inviting us to play the track for Media Day. And for anybody who's not familiar with that, whenever a PGA Tour event is coming through, about maybe 2-3 weeks prior, a lot of media outlets will be invited to come and play the track so that they can provide a little bit of coverage and see a little bit of an insight into what the PGA Tour players are going to be facing. So we happened to get the invite for this one. I immediately dropped everything I was doing, called you up. I'm like, let's go. Like I don't care, whatever. We'll make this work. So we did what we needed to do. The day was awesome. It started off, they had it right there locally in Paramus' Shake Shack. So they had it catered by Shake Shack. Anybody who,
so good.
In the Northeast area probably knows the name. And it was just like, you just have a couple of those delicious burgers, getting everything set up and ready to go.
I got to just tell everyone what I ate, because I know people are going to rip me for this, knowing about my like crazy diet. I had a bacon cheeseburger with jalapenos, and then I had a regular cheeseburger, and then I had a chicken sandwich with fries. I just kept going to town. It was so good. It was such a cool little touch, I
said, I'm happy it lined up with your cheat day.
Yeah. Yeah. Random.
Yeah. But it was just like, everything was just pristine. It was just so great to get out there. We had covered the, back then it was the Barclays, we had covered that, and even did a podcast from there as media, but we hadn't played the track. So that was even more so adding to that, just like that whole mystique to me, was the fact that we had been there, we had walked the track, but still hadn't played it. So the opportunity came up, had to play it. One big thing that kind of even added to it more is the famous 5 and dime hole, which I'll talk about in a second. And that happened to be where, if you guys remember the Phil was here shot, where Phil 2 times put it into the grandstands and had to chip out of the grandstands onto the green there. That's the 5 and dime hole. So we got the chance to play that. But overall, incredibly challenging track. 60, as Mike said, I've got the scorecard in front of me. 6,738 yards it played that day.
With the rough, it felt like 8,500.
Yes, and just to show you how long it was, it played to a par 71 too, as well. All right, so 6,738 yards, and what was astonishing to me, okay, the rough, and hopefully you guys will get a chance to see this. We video, everything's going to be in the vlog, which will be dropping soon. You'll see that on our YouTube channel. The rough everywhere was over a full hand deep. So it was about 4 or 5 inches deep. and just thick, like grown in, like lush. There was nothing, dead about it. It was thick, heavy rough, almost like US Open rough.
Mm-hmm.
But what amazed me was that they eliminated the second cut there. So it went fairway, rough, and you'd see this dramatic difference. The fairway, cut all the way down nice and clean, and then just boom, this rough line would just come way up. So we had a couple shots, and it was amazing how penalizing it was to miss a fairway. I'm talking about you hit a great ball and it rolled off the fairway by 6 inches, and you were in some of the thickest rough, and it would have to either punch it out or club up dramatically. So it was like really punishing. And when I see something like that, where it's so important to hit fairway, I think of it almost like links golf. And I've got to, just kind of do what I got to do just to put it in the fairway and kind of steer it more so than play a distance game. And that's where I would bust out a hybrid off the tee or something like that. But here we didn't have that luxury because there were so many long par fours. If you didn't hit,
it was damned if you do, damned if you don't.
If you weren't hitting a good, your driver off the tee and really advancing the ball, your second shot was so long, you'd be happy to hold any green. Plus, these greens were incredibly small in a lot of places, especially at the 5 and dime.
Right. So most of the time I would hit driver off the tee, just knowing that if I missed and ended up in this rough, I'd probably be 175 out on a par 4, as opposed to taking a more conservative approach off the tee and having about 210 to 220 from the fairway. Yeah. So that was my strategy going in, and I did find the rough a lot. I didn't really hold too many fairways. Even the fairways that we did hit, I remember you had one that you right down the fairway and you just trickled off. I mean, you said here's the difference between trickled. 1 foot or 5 inches even, and you were in the heavy rough when you were on the fairway for most of that drive until it rolled off. So, this just goes to show you that this is what these guys go through week in and week out on the PGA Tour. And for us, bottom line, yesterday, if you were off the fairway on your drive, the chance of you making par dropped dramatically. The odds dropped. You are now playing for bogey, right? I mean, you got to agree.
Oh, yes.
Because you're not getting that ball on the green 180, 185 out in that deep rough. You're lucky if you can advance it about 150. Maybe you can get it a little more, maybe a little run up to the green. A lot of these greens false fronts, so they were hard to do that. So it's a tricky little track. And, greens and regulations were very limited for us. We did have a few pars. We did have a couple of good holes. I think you birdied a par 3. That was beautiful. But that rough was killer.
It was one of those days where we got about 3 holes in and we said, okay, today bogeys are pars and pars are birdies. It's that difficult. I mean, we started about as challenging as you get. They started us off on the 8th hole, and I'm looking at the scorecard now. It was a 475 yard par 4.
Welcome to
what
Ridgewood,
a way
guys.
to start. You know what I mean? And now think about that, where 475 yards. Now let's say you hit your drive into that thick rough. There's just almost no way of reaching the green at that point.
Yeah.
Because you can't just muscle it up enough to get to the green. So it was a challenging day. Overall, I was happy with it. Put together, I was able to string together, let's see, a total of 3 pars and a birdie. That makes me happy because, like I said, as difficult as it was playing, lightning fast greens. But if there's one hole that I kind of want to just go through kind of shot by shot, it's the 5 and dime.
Mm-hmm.
So anybody who is not aware of this particular hole, and you should check it out on YouTube, and you'll actually see it in our vlog, which is going to be coming out soon. But it's an incredibly tempting par 4 because it's very short. That day it was playing 291. 291 par 4, but the only way to describe this green is it's almost like a postage stamp, where it's so small, where they had the pin that day, in that part of that section of the green, I could lay down on that green and have my feet touch one side and my hands touch the other side of the green. It was that short. I mean, it was that tight and small. So you can bomb it off the tee and go for it. But understanding that the green is elevated, it's up on a tier, and it's surrounded by incredibly tall bunkers on all sides, just holding you in. So we asked the caddy, I'm like, all right, well, why do they call it the 5 and dime? And he said, because the reality is it's a par 4, remember? He said, the reality is people either end up with a 5 or a 10 on this hole. Mm-hmm. And that tells you right there how difficult this is going to be. And that's where I got to take hats off to Mike, because you parred this hole.
Of all the holes on the course,
Yeah.
that's the one I par.
That's
Amazing.
the one you par. So that was something else. And we'll just kind of take you through it.
Yeah, let's go through it.
We said, all right, off the tee, I knew Mike was going driver because it's totally reachable for you. And I said,
but even not, you'll see how it worked out in our favor. Sorry,
right,
go ahead.
Exactly. And here's the situation. It's a very, very difficult green to hit because of that size and because it's so surrounded and because if you're off the green in any direction, you are in a lot of trouble in those bunkers. And the reason you're in a lot of trouble and the reason why people end up with a 10 there is because these bunkers are so challenging and the green being so small that a lot of times what guys will end up is going over the green, bunker to bunker to bunker, back and forth until you get, it's that hard to hold that green. And I'll tell you more about, that's kind of what happened to me. I'll tell you about that in a second. But Mike's going driver. And then I said, you know what, since we're filming it, I know what's going to happen. If I don't go driver, everyone's going to light up the YouTube comments. Like, come on, Frank, how could you not go driver here? So I did. So you hit your driver and you pushed it right, correct?
I pushed it right. Yes. I ended about 35 yards off the green in the rough, but a steep uphill is probably playing about 50 yards with the incline and surrounded by bunkers. And you'll see this in the video. We did a flyover.
Yes. So Mike's looking at this and he's looking at an elevation of about 20 feet difference straight up. And we're also, again, we're playing out of this rough. So a lot of what happened that day really was contingent upon your lie in the rough. If you were with the grain of the way that the grass was growing, you could work it a little bit more. If you were against it, you knew it was just going to grab that club and just stop it. So that would make a lot of a difference. So Mike goes there and then I hit a really good shot off the tee. I ended up about 20 yards, away. And I was just a little bit to the right. Distance wise, I had the distance almost to the green, but I was just a little bit to the right. So it's looking like I'm in better shape than you here. So, but this is how quickly fates can change, so to speak. Mike hits a great approach shot and somehow holds that green.
It's like 5 feet, 6 feet. Yeah.
Amazing. And, again, I know you've been having more and more confidence with those Vokies.
Right.
And same here. I feel like my approaches have been so much better. And now it's a tough shot. It's a little bit blind because the green is so far above you. You can't quite see the green. You know where the green is, but you can't quite see the surface. So it's kind of hard to judge depth. So Mike goes first. He holds the green. Then I go. And I hit my 60-degree wedge and just try to pop it up and it hits the green, but then it jumps, off and then jumps in the bunker right behind the green. So again, very small landing area, but this is where the punishment began for me. So I go up there, make my way up to the green and I'm in this greenside bunker. Now, just to kind of lay this out for you guys, I'm about 8 to 10 feet from the hole where I am in the greenside bunker. I've got about a foot of sand in front of me, then maybe 3 feet of rough, and then the rest is the green. And it's sloping. Everything is sloping
big
down.
Slope
away
down,
from
right?
Me. Yeah, all down and away from me.
Almost guaranteed to roll off into the bunker on the other side.
Yes, and then here's where it really kind of screwed me up. I knew that I didn't have almost any room to work with, but the caddy comes up to me and he's like, if you land it anywhere on this green, it's going to roll all the way off the green into the bunker below you. So you have to land this in the rough. And I said, all right, it made sense because I saw that green, but I'm thinking the way this rough is all day, I don't know how you land anything in the rough and it come out.
Right.
So I just kind of like babied this shot and I just pop it just out of the bunker into the rough and it sticks in that rough like Velcro. It wasn't going anywhere. So now I'm still faced with this downhill chip now from the rough because I'm still short of the green. So that right there is where the 5 and dime gets its name. It could quickly go, as you can see, it can quickly go to a 10.
Yes.
So then now I'm faced with the same slippery chip shot where I'm like, where do I chip it? Do I chip it, another foot, like literally 1 foot into the rough and then hope it trickles onto the green? Or do I try to chip it like 2 feet onto the green and hope it holds? That's what I ended up doing. I just didn't want to land it in the rough again. I chip it. It hits the green, rolls all the way to the other side, and you think it's going to roll off, and it just get held up by the grass on the other side. 2-putt from there and walk out with a 6 and just feel like that's a relief at that point.
Yeah,
and Mike,
absolutely.
2 putts his par and gets out of there with a great score on the hole.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it was, I mean, the approach shot for me was pure luck. I mean, the landing zone, I mean, that green runs left to right in length. There's no length from front to back. Like you said, it's like 10 feet. You know, the landing zone is so small. That's why the fairway is on the left side. So if you play the conservative route and you land in that fairway, then you're approaching that green from the long angle.
Yes.
So you could be long there and not worry about those bunkers. That's what some guys will do, but it's going to be so tempting. When it does come on TV and you're watching the Northern Trust Open, it's going to be the 12th hole. So make sure you watch it. But before that happens, we're actually going to put together a fun little clip of just that hole. Me and you, heads up, showing you all 10 of our shots, my 4, your 6, and it's going to take you through them. So you'll be able to see Frank's chip shot that I thought was going to make it. I think it took one bounce in that rough, and then it just grabbed it like Velcro. I think one more bounce, and you would have been so like not perfect, but you would have been so much better shape. But hey, it's a tough hole. We had a lot of fun with it. I know the first time I played it, I believe I shot an 8 or 9 because I went back and forth in the bunkers a bunch of time. So there you go. There was my 5 and my dime, so to speak. Right
Redemption.
there. Redemption.
And if you do go to the Northern Trust, make your way to that 12th hole for a little while and watch how they play it. But that's what, going back, like with driver, I know you might think that's an aggressive play, but the approach is so difficult because that's such a small target that, to me, even if I was to just lay it up, like maybe let's say hit a, I don't know, 180 or 200 yard club and leave myself something like that's 75 to 100 yards in. To me, it was still such a tricky approach that, and the target's so small. I just wanted to advance the ball as close, in this particular case, as close to that green as possible, so that I had a little bit of a closer shot. And again, it's tough because the shot is kind of a semi-blind because you're going so far above you to try to land it that you can't see it. So right. It was a challenging one, but as soon as you get in one of those bunkers, that's where the real fun begins. But then after that, we made our way up into the stands. We tried the shot from where Phil was here. You'll see that on.
You'll see that as
probably
well.
Already by the time this episode drops, it'll be on YouTube. So make sure you check that out. But that said, what would you say you feel like? What was your best shot of the day?
I think for me, I had one approach shot on the 16th hole that I almost jarred, hit the pin, hit the cup.
Yes, you did. Yeah.
You said it, you almost went in. It was just one of those, like those laser, pinpoint accuracy, like 30-yard chip shot with a 56-degree wedge. And then I think my other great shot was I had a drive on, I believe it was 15, that I almost hit the group in front of me. For me, the reason why it was so good is because I knew that I hit it the way I've been trying to hit this driver for so long. It was just, I slowed everything down by like 5 miles an hour. I got rid of that outside in swing in that one particular moment, and I hit and I think it even had a tiny little draw on it, which really got me excited. But it almost looked dead straight. There was no fade, no slice, and it really, really went. I think I boomed it. So, I had a couple of really, really good ones. Can't think of them all, but I probably had my fair share of good as well as bad. So.
Yeah. And it was one of those days, like I said, it's a challenge. You got to understand that. You got to accept it. I think my best shot of the day was that hybrid that we talked about. That felt incredibly good. I feel like I played the
par 3 you birdied, you stuck that within 5 feet or something.
And birdied that. I felt really good about the 18th hole, that par 4, because I hit what I felt like was, when you hit multiple good shots, not just relying on one. I mean, I hit a really great drive there, which set me up for that nice 8-iron to a really difficult. They wanted us to get that full PGA Tour experience. They did not let up on us with pin position that day. They had these things tucked to the point. The short side on some of these was like 2 yards. 2 feet. It was ridiculous. It was like, where you can't put that pin any further back or to the left or whatever. But I hit a beautiful approach shot there. Walked out of there with a nice 2-putt par. That made me feel good.
Wait, I got to stop you there because I got to give credit where credit is due. Our little duo here, the whole Frank and Mike combo, when we look at our golf games, I mean, I'm always kind of known as the guy who gets the distance. Frank is kind of the guy who's got a much better tempo and better mental game. I mean, that's just how we are.
Right.
I think as far as strong points. You were blowing drives by me, and I'm scratching my head saying, where did this guy come from? And it was so great. And because you referenced 18, and we both crushed our drives down the middle.
Crushed it.
and you were like, I don't know, 7-10 yards further than me. And I was like, dude, what did you eat this morning? Well, I know you ate the Shake Shack. Maybe that was it.
Maybe the Shake Shack is the key. I'm going to give myself a heart attack having a Shake Shack before every single.
Hey, if you fire low scores, man, go for it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I mean, look, that hole right there, that's a 423 yard par 4, and I remember hitting a 9-iron into that green.
Mm-hmm.
So that was something like a 280, 290 drive, which is huge for me. My average drive is about 260. But I tell you what the difference is with you, you're losing too much distance with that slice. Because remember, it was ridiculous. That one time you hit like a little bit of a baby draw on your drive, and I mean, we even had the caddy said like you can go. The guys in front were way up ahead, and you went over their heads.
Yeah. So you see what happens. I slowed the club down. I slowed everything down, and it went further. It just goes to show you. Because
yours start out like they're going to be much more distance than mine, but then that little bit of a fade slice type of thing just starts to take that distance off of it. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so it just felt really good. It was a really great day out there. I'm looking forward to one day playing it again. I love playing these challenging tracks every once in a while. So it was a good one.
Do you know where they are next year? I think Liberty National.
There's another course I really want to play.
Yeah, so we got to gear up.
Which you've also played too, right?
I think I've played every Barclays Northern Trust Open,
save for the
course, except for the one I played Bethpage.
Oh, you did play Bethpage, that's right.
But not with the PGA Tour. The only one I didn't play was the one they were at last year, Glen Oaks, out when we went out in Long Island or wherever that was.
Gotcha.
But yeah, no, great course, Liberty National. Looking forward to that next year.
Yes. So let's just quickly get into the Open, the Golficity Virtual Open, because this has been really great. It's just been kind of building momentum. That's why I'm always so happy that we get the opportunity to run this for a full month. We run it just like last year, July 15th through August 15th. That way, as people find out about it, you can still get involved in it. And you can even if today is August 15th that you're listening to this, if you can still get in and run out and play your round before the end of the day, and you'll be able to log your round in it. But it's very easy to join. You can go to golficity.com/open for all the details. But essentially, you download the 18 Birdies app, which is 100% free. They do have some premium features, which are paid features. If you want to try those out, we were able to work out a deal with them. You can use promo code Golficity 2018 and you'll get a 90-day free premium membership, so you can try it out for a couple months and see if you like it. But you don't need it. You can play 100% for free. What you do is go in the app, click play, select tournament mode, enter tournament code 6719 and click join. And at that point, you can go out anytime on pretty much any course and play your round. And what's so cool is the live leaderboards. I think that's my favorite part about this. It makes you really feel like you're involved in a tournament. And you get to see yourself like moving up and down the leaderboard, as well as I like afterwards. I like to check the leaderboard and look at it. That we've seen some great rounds on here. That we've got both a gross and a net leaderboard. We saw, let's see, I'll just highlight some of these. R. Curley shot a 68, which is really excellent round.
He's been on the top for a while, huh?
He really has.
Again, look at my buddy Greg Angelillo, scratch golfer.
Even, and I like that you can click and you can see where they play. He played at Montclair.
That was his New Jersey amateur event, 3 days, 3 rounds. And I think he was his second round. I said, good luck today. By the way, make this your virtual open round. He went out there and fired a 70.
Wow. I can't wait to get a chance to play with him.
Yeah, we're going to set that up.
Definitely. So really great rounds. One thing that I will say, everybody's been talking about it. We've got one round in there that's ridiculously low. And don't worry, we're not going to put that on the final scoreboard. I think there's a fine line. Everyone says, how do you keep people honest? And are they cheating or whatever? This is such a wildly low round. I mean, he shot a 41 under 31 that day.
Yep.
And so his net was 59 under 13. Shot a 13. Here's the thing. I think if anyone's going to actually cheat, they're going to do it in a way that isn't so obvious. I think the issue here was occasionally people are new to the app and they're not quite sure how to score. When you enter your score, you enter your actual score. It'll take care of doing the handicap math automatically. I think that some people are just used to entering their score in relation to par. And I think that's what happened here, where everyone said, wow, he had 5 hole-in-ones in one round. I think the ones mean he was 1 over par on those holes. I think that's how he entered his score. Regardless, because it is an inaccurate score, we are going to disqualify it. That won't be on the final leaderboard that we post on the website. We've tried to work with 18 birdies on this. Believe it or not, they don't have an option where we can delete a score. I don't know why.
I know.
We asked for them for that last year. Hopefully they'll work that in at some point where we can kind of just delete a round or take it out of the tournament if it's obvious like this. I've also asked them and said, guys, you should have something in there that just says, no, this round, you can't enter a round like that. I mean, he entered zeros, I think, on some holes.
Yeah, there should be like something that, like, when you go to hit enter round, like something should pop up and be like, do you even know how to play the game, bro? You know what I mean? Something like that. Like what does this even mean? Like, he obviously didn't know how to do it right, and we get it. So, like you said, we'll just kind of disqualify the round. A lot of people have been asking about that, so I'm glad you brought that up.
And this is also why we moved away from tying the prizes to scores. A lot of you have asked in the comments too on YouTube saying, like, well, how do you discourage people from cheating? Well, one thing is I'm a firm believer in this. Golf, it's a game of honor system. Everybody's going to kind of be on their honor out there. But since you're not playing directly against a competitor who would be attesting to your score and kind of protecting the field, there's a certain degree of it where there's just not much we can control. So what we did with that is that's why we moved the prizes away from tying them to the leaderboard and moved them to just door prizes where everyone has a chance. This way, too, everyone, no matter who plays, you have a chance of winning the prizes. We've got great prizes. We've got everything from Me and My Golf subscriptions to True Links Wear. It has some incredibly great golf shoes, Swanee's apparel, Asher, Amp Caddy, Titleist, of course. We've got a lot of great stuff that we're going to be giving away when this whole thing wraps up. But we're just going to be playing for bragging rights, and we're just going to have to just, be on your honor out there and enter a score that's accurate. But yeah, so great scores coming in. I'm loving seeing them. Mike, where are you, by the way, on the leaderboard?
Oh man, I probably wouldn't even have made the cut. Let's see. Let's see. I'm going to take a look now. I started off okay, but then as more people played, of course, I dropped all the way down. Let's see. Because I shot an 88, which for me is a pretty good score. I'm T77. I think I was like T24 at one point, and then everyone kind of went in there and shot some really good scores. I mean, I love how they do it, because I shot an 88, but it was 16 over par, so I was plus 16. Mm-hmm. But there are some people who shot, 86 and they were plus 14.
A lot of people in the Facebook group were highlighting that it was one of their better rounds, if not their best round. I said, competition sometimes brings out the best in us, so it is. Sometimes when you get out there and you really take it seriously, you end up, your mental game gets a little bit stronger.
Yeah. And what's funny is, and this is kind of where I was going with that last point. For example, T Hines, he shot 10 over 77. So he played on a par 67. And then the other guy was 10 over. He shot an 81. Another guy shot 10 over. He was an 82. Mm-hmm. So they break it down by what you are, plus 10, plus 11, what your score is. It doesn't really, how many over par you are is where you rank on the leaderboard is what I'm trying to say.
Right.
Yep.
Right. Which is the smart way to do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I ended up right now on the gross leaderboard, I'm T64, and on the net, I'm T43. I was happy with my round. As you guys know, talked about last time, I started my round at Ballyowen and unfortunately had to leave, because my daughter was sick. Thankfully she's doing really well right now, which also I want to give a shout out. One thing that's really been such a nice thing for me. One of our very longtime listeners, Will Selman, he was one of the people who had reached out to me afterwards, just, asking how my daughter was doing and things like that. And he also happens to be a child and family doctor. He worked in the hospital for a while and just really warms my heart when I see things like this. And he just, went above and beyond and extended himself. And he gave me his cell phone number, and he's like, listen, he goes, I've got kids too. So I don't sleep. He goes, I'm up.
Yeah.
He goes, it's not a bother. If you want a 10th opinion at any time, just
that's cool.
Let me know. And you know what? That really meant a lot to me. And I've since been emailing back and forth and kind of bouncing off him some of the testing and things that we've been doing afterwards, the follow up. And it's just been great to have another opinion. So Will, can't thank you enough for that. It is sincerely appreciated.
That's so cool. And you know what? I mean, I kind of tell you this all the time. If money was no object, I would love to fly all 946 members of the podcast group here for like a weekend tournament. I'd even be willing to put them all up in my house. Wow, my wife would kill me. Yeah. But that's how much I just really enjoy all of you and the conversations, and it's things like that. I mean, we've developed like this army, this society, this community, whatever you want to call it. It's so cool. Love being a part of it.
No doubt about it. But anyway, so that my round, I was able to do a kind of a do-over, a redo, and I played on the weekend, and I was happy with it. I ended up shooting one better than my handicap. So that was, I ended up shooting an 86 that day. And based on my handicap, my net score was a 1 under 71. Anytime I beat my handicap, I'm happy. And it was, again, very challenging. I always, it was a good warm up for Ridgewood. I love my 6:30 a.m. tee time because it gets my round done, and I'm back, by the end of breakfast, so to speak. But I'll tell you what, the track, because it had rained all night, was so soggy. And when you play that morning until the time for the sun to come up and really burn things off, that's where we talk about on the PGA Tour. Like if you do fantasy, where you say like there's a 2 or 3 stroke difference from the morning to the afternoon tee time sometimes, if it's really wet and soggy in the morning. But it was a challenge. That's what it's all about. So I was happy with it, happy with the way I played, and glad to log my round. And we'll see. Yeah. I want to see where things wrap up the next couple of days before the tournament's over.
Dude, there isn't a grind on a wedge anywhere that'll get you through sloppy fairways like that.
I know.
It's like I'd be chunking all over that fairway. I take steep chunks, as you see, on a dry fairway. So that would have been a nightmare for me.
Yep. But okay, so 15 days left right now as of recording this. There'll be about a week and a half left as of when this podcast drops to get involved with the Golficity Virtual Open. Check that out by going to golficity.com/open. Thank you everybody for tuning in. Like I said, we had so much going on. We wanted to recap it. We're going to have some great stuff coming up. We're going to be diving into some more instruction, some more equipment stuff, lots of great stuff. And as always, if you have suggestions for anything you'd like to hear here on the podcast, whether it be stuff about our game, stuff about instruction, stuff that you guys can relate to, stuff that you're working on, interviews you want to hear, let us know. Post them in the Facebook group. Can't guarantee we'll be able to do it, especially if it's an interview, but you never know. We could pull some strings, get some people on the show, and things you can hear from. So make sure you check that out. You can get to the show notes for today's episode by going to golficity.com/episode 230. Or as always, you can get everything in the Golficity app, which is 100% free. Download that by going to golficity.com/app, and we'll see you all again next week.